Good afternoon and welcome to today's class of Lunch Break with the Rabbi. Today is October 1st. It is also the 13th of Tishrei. It is the yahrzeit of the Rebbe Marash, the fourth Chabad Rebbe, who lived in the town of Lubavitch, and there he is buried. We are 2 days away from the festival of Sukkot. The festival of Sukkot is one of those holidays that really symbolizes true joy, as we explained yesterday at length. And one of the reasons why it is a time for celebration of absolute joy, it is a time where every single part of the holiday expresses the true unity of amongst the Jewish people. It is a time that expresses the unity of Jewish people with each other, and a time that expresses the unity of Jewish people with God. Let's take an example with the mitzvah of Sukkah. The mitzvah of Sukkah, our sages tell us, is the easiest mitzvah for one to do. You walk into a sukkah, you did the mitzvah. You spend time in the sukkah, you did the mitzvah. The very fact that you're eating, drinking, doing whatever you do in a regular day, you do it in the sukkah, you've now done the mitzvah. Simple as that. That's the mitzvah of sukkah. Let's take the next mitzvah, which is the lulav and the esrog. You take the lulav and the esrog, you hold them in your hand, you make the blessing, 30 seconds, you're done, you did the mitzvah. So besides for it being the easiest mitzvahs, but it is also the mitzvahs which are symbolically symbolize the unity of all Jewish people. Let's take, for example, the sukkah. The sukkah is a place where every single Jewish person, men, women, and child, can sit in the same sukkah. The greatest scholar of Moses to the simplest child sit in the same sukkah. The sukkah encompasses every single individual, regardless of what age, level of intellectual, whatever they may be. They can all sit and celebrate Sukkot exactly the same way. The exact same sukkah holds the greatest scholar to the simplest person. But then let's look at the lulav. The lulav and the esrog are the four kinds. Kabbalah explains that every single one of these kinds of the lulav are symbolic to another person. The lulav is symbolic to somebody who studies Torah. The esrog is symbolic to a person who studies Torah and does mitzvot. The arava is symbolic to a person that does none. The hadassim are symbolic to a person who does the mitzvot, but does not study Torah. What does God say? Take all these four kinds of people, bring them together as one, bind them together. You cannot make the blessing on the lulav if you don't have any other part. You can't say, well, I have an esrog that's beautiful, I can do it. No, in order to do the mitzvah the proper way, you need to have every single kind there part of it. The lulav, the esrog, the myrtle, the willow, regardless of its taste, its smell, of its kind, or whatever it may be. Even more so. Look at the lulav. In order to have a kosher lulav, it needs to be tall enough that it shakes. Symbolic of the Jewish soul. You ever see a candle? Why it continues to flicker? It is because the candle is teaching you. Is symbolic of the soul. The soul is continuously thriving and wanting to connect to its source. So too the soul always wants to be connected to above. Same thing is with the lulav. All the Jewish people united as one as we shake that lulav and esrog. It is because they have a desire to cleave to the one above. They have a desire to connect to the one above. When does a Jew shake? You'll see in a crowd of 1,000, you'll see a few people during prayer shaking, you know that's the Jew. A Jew automatically shakes when they study Torah, when they do mitzvahs, because that's the time when they have that expression and that desire to really come close to Judaism, to come close to God. Sukkot is that time. Every other mitzvah I do with my hand. I put on tefillin, I light candles with my hand, I give charity with my hand. Sukkot is the only mitzvah which your entire body, head to toe, is fully encompassed. Following our train from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur, then to Sukkot, we can understand this. Rosh Hashanah, God says, I want to have a relationship with you. Yom Kippur, God makes that relationship more intimate. And finally on Sukkot, God hugs us. It's all embracing. We walk into a sukkah, we're embraced by the mitzvah from head to toe. This is the time where the commentaries explain and the Kabbalists tell us, Tiku ba'shofar, what you try to achieve on Rosh Hashanah. By sounding the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, we now have that expression, and it comes revealed on the holiday of Sukkot. What's the reason for the joy? What's the reason and expression for such great joy? Is because everything we worked on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur now comes to fruition on Sukkot. God embraces the Jewish people. He hugs us. He says, here I am. Walk into the sukkah. You are now being fully encompassed by this mitzvah. That is the unity. That is the pleasure. That is the joy. Such a joy cannot be surpassed. We find in the temple times, during the festival of Sukkot, they would celebrate these days of Sukkot with great joy and fanfare. The Talmud goes on to explain that these beautiful torches that the young Kohanim would light, and fire would come out of them, that the entire Jerusalem was lit up from the great, great torches. The great scholars would be juggling. It was a time when people didn't sleep. The only sleep they got was resting on each other's shoulders. It was a joy that was palpable. It was a joy that you can feel and touch in the year. This is the festival of Sukkot where God tells us to rejoice. 3 times he tells us the mitzvah of v'samachta, to rejoice. The true joy that comes from within. The joy that comes from the satisfaction and the victory that we had on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. The joy that comes from the unity of all the Jewish people coming together. The joy that comes from the fact that God embraces us is a joy which has to be permeated, internalized, and felt to bring us and achieve, because we know true joy breaks through all barriers. So, my friends, wherever you are today, whether you're at home in quarantine, or you're at home because since you're afraid of going out too much, or you go out to meet your friends and you go to shul, whatever the situation is, remember, the days ahead are true joy, internal joy, joy that should change the way you think and feel, joy that will bring you out of this closed-mindedness while you're sitting inside, but to jump out of your seats, to be able to feel an expression of happiness and satisfaction. And remember, you and God are now being embraced, one with each other, a beer hug. Imagine God is giving you that hug. That's what the festival of Sukkot is all about. That gives you reason to really be happy and really be joyful. Let us hope and pray that we celebrate the Sukkot all together as one in one sukkah, with all healthy and well. God bless you. See you tomorrow. Lunch break with the Rabbi. It's going to be a little later than 1 p.m., but we'll see you then. God bless you.